Welcome everyone to our next video tutorial where we're going to start to learn how to use Fusion electronics by making this motor driver board here. This board has a Raspberry Pi Pico to control it, has some GPIO pins for inputs and outputs, and then I have two motor hookups here that are being controlled just by simple MOSFETs, and then two potentiometers as inputs here to potentially control the motors if wanted, and then also some WS2812B LEDs for data and feedback and stuff. We're going to start by making a schematic that looks something like this. Then that'll lead us into making the PCB that is this, and then we can push that to a 3D model, which is this, and then make a case for it and everything. That's all encompassed within this electronics design, and we'll go through each step that we need to get to the finished product. So let's go ahead and do some housekeeping first. I'm going to create a new folder named Electronics and go into that folder, and we need to first upload the Raspberry Pi Pico. That is not built into Autodesk Fusion, and so I have it hosted on my GitHub. If you just search for ZC-TechDraft and go to users, and there's me, and the only thing I have posted right now at the time of this recording is my Pi Pico library, and we want to go ahead and download this entire zip file. Alright, let's go ahead and open that, and we need these four files here, so I'm going to drag this to my downloads so that they are right here, and then let's go back to Fusion. In my electronics folder, I'm going to click upload, select files, hold shift, click on the bottom one, so I selected all four, and click open and upload. And this will take just a second. So what did we upload here? Well, we uploaded the 3D models for each of the Picos in their different environments, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. And then we uploaded the library that includes the Pico. So electronics components are in libraries, and we select which ones we need, and we put them into our schematic. And so this is the library for our Pico. If I were to double click on this library, I would see that I have the Raspberry Pi Pico as a component, and then I control that down. I have the symbol of the Pico, which looks something like this, and then I have three packages for the Pico. I have this one, which is that's weird. Why aren't those loading? Let's double click on those and find out this package isn't. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to, here's the package for it. So this is a combination through hole and surface mount. And I'm going to create a new 3D model for this. And drag the Raspberry Pi Pico into it. And rotate it 90 degrees, click OK, and click Finish. And that now created the 3D model for that one. Then we have our SMD only component, which is going to look pretty much the same, except I have no through holes along the sides. So let's create a new 3D model for that one. And same thing, I'm going to drag that in there, rotate it, and click OK. And you can see there's already a lot of files for this project. This is why I usually have an electronics folder to kind of manage that. And then we have the through-hole versions. Okay. So I'm going to right click on that, create new 3D model, and bring this in, then also move it up 0.1 inches, or sorry, 0.2 inches, usually what the spacing is, and that would account for any headers that are below it. Alright, let's go ahead and close this library. And that'll save everything and update it all. And let's go ahead and get started making our schematic. So I'm going to go to File, New Electronics Design, and then click this New Schematic here. Now, I personally first want to go to my grid settings, and I want my grid off. I just want to make sure I'm 0.1 and my alt is 0.01. You'll see what that is as we move things around and see it. All right. Let's go ahead and get started by placing our Raspberry Pi Pico. I'm going to go to my libraries, and I can scroll down, and Raspberry Pi Pico library should be there. And then I'm going to check variant and go to SMD, because this is going to be an SMD version. Double click on it, and that's going to bring it in, and I can place it kind of on the equivalent of what my origin is. Alright, so looking at this, we have our bus, our VSys, and 3.3 out. I don't usually wire to VBus. I do wire to VSys. That's going to be my 5 volt input, and then I'm going to have a 3.3 volt output as well. So let's go ahead and place those. So I'm going to go to power symbols, double click on 5 volt, and bring that kind of up here. Double click on 3.3 volt, bring that over here. Close this to make it a little bit bigger. And then also I need my ground. So we want just regular GND. I'm going to bring down that here near my ground. Alright, now I want to draw a wire essentially, which is called a net. So I'm going to click on VSys, go up to 5 volt, go from 3.3 to 3v3 out, and then ground to ground. Alright. Now we want some decoupling capacitors for our VSys and our 3.3 out. So I'm going to just copy my 5 volt and the 3.3 by Control C, Control V, and put them off to the side. Let's move that over a little bit. And delete those wires that came in. Let's copy ground. Put those up there. And then let's go up to capacitor. And I want a variant of the 0805. We're doing all surface mount. If you want to do this and make this board but do through hole, you would just simply select the one of these through hole versions. But we're going to do surface mount, and I usually use 0805 size components. And we're going to place 2 of them. And they need a value. So I'm going to go to value and do 1 UF for each of them. So pretty beefy, non-polarized ceramic capacitors that will isolate and make sure that these have consistent power. Took these up. You might have noticed I did not wire these directly to VSys and through V3 out. But because this capacitor is connected to 5 volt and 5 volt is connected to here, when I get to my schematic, the software is going to know this wire has to go to this and this wire has to go to this. So this is a way for us to simplify our wiring by having labels on things and names on things, so that we don't have to have nets going all over the place. Alright, that's it for my Pi Pico right now. We're going to add a lot more to it, but this is a good starting point for it. This is kind of the basics to just make the Pi Pico run. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go to Document, Line, and I'm going to draw a box around it. And go to Text, and label this Pi Pico. And there we go. we have our first component set done. Alright, next up we are going to do the power input in our next video.